If your YouTube recommended feed is anything like mine, you've probably seen a handful of videos about someone attempting to get all the achievements, or the Platinum Trophy, in a particular game, typically either being new releases or series that are particularly infamous for being difficult to complete. This led me to wonder, what are the games in which you can't do that? Not ones where it's just hard, either due to the game's difficulty, or because the achievements ask for the near impossible from the player. I mean games where for one reason or another, it is flat out impossible to get every achievement or trophy. The only caveat I have for what I'll be covering is that I'll be ignoring games where the reason is simply due to some of them being dependent on an online mode that isn't active anymore, as frankly speaking, that's the most boring reason why something like this can happen. Otherwise, join me as we take a look at the games that you will never be able to platinum or 100% achievements in. Made by Barcelona-based developer A Crowd of Monsters, Blues and Bullets is an episodic noir game which had its first episode released in 2015 for both PC and Xbox One, it following an alternative history where Al Capone requests the help of Elliot Ness, the agent-turned-detective responsible for Capone's imprisonment, to find his kidnapped girlfriend, with overall getting a mixed to positive reaction. Now, if you were to look at this game's achievement list on Xbox and Steam, there's nothing too out of the ordinary, the only requirements being to beat each chapter and interact with all clues and items of interest during both the first and the second episode, which released in 2016. But it's when you look at the trophy list for the PlayStation 4 version, which came out around the same time as Episode 2, that you'll see something wrong, as this list also features similar requirements for Episodes 3 through 5, which are all needed to get the Platinum Trophy. If you're wondering why the other versions don't have achievements for the latter 3 episodes, it's not because they were paid off by Sony to make them PlayStation exclusive, it's instead because they never released, as not too long after Episode 2 came out, the studio would post on their Twitter that they were going through some difficulties, and since then have been radio silent. The only post they've made since being in May of 2018, which was in memoriam for the passing of YouTube game critic Total Biscuit, and their website now links to, I think, information about Indonesian lotteries? Due to this likely meaning A Crowd of Monsters doesn't operate anymore, the remaining 3 episodes will likely never be released, in turn making the game's Platinum Trophy completely impossible, as how could you beat and investigate everything in those episodes if they were never finished and no one can play them? This is a prime example as to what can go wrong with episodic releases, right up there with the over decade-long wait for Half-Life 2 Episode 3, Sonic 4 ending on a cliffhanger due to Episode 2 bombing, and Telltale's shutdown almost causing their Walking Dead series to end halfway through its final season. And whilst I'd like to say that we've left these mistakes behind, it's pretty much just being replaced with live service games that end abruptly due to not being able to achieve profitability and maintain a steady player base. Gotta love this industry that either never learns from its mistakes or just invents new ways to make the same ones. For probably the silliest way achievement completion has been locked out, we have Rayman Raving Rabbids, which initially released as a launch title for the Wii, before later being ported to PlayStation 2, PC, and for our purposes, the Xbox 360. The title itself being a party game where Rayman has to complete various minigames for the amusement of the Rabbids. Now, what's important to us isn't the main game, and instead is the score mode, where you can replay various minigames from the story to get the best high score, with certain rewards and challenges unlocking as you get more and more points. Where the issue arises is the achievement Rayman Loves Challenges, which requires you unlock every challenge in the score mode, the final one requiring you earn a combined score of 174,000 points. The problem with this is that it doesn't matter how many games you play perfectly and get every possible point in, because the maximum amount of points you can possibly get prior to unlocking the final challenge is 173,000. In other terms, thanks to a bug related to the points requirements, it is impossible to get the score needed to unlock the final challenge, thanks to it being greater than the total amount of points you can possibly get at that stage. If that wasn't bad enough, this also means you can't earn the 10,000 points from perfecting the last challenge, which in turn locks you out from reaching the 183,000 points needed to unlock both the final piece of artwork for the Rayman Loves Drawing achievement, as well as the Greatest Rayman Ever achievement, making a total of 3 achievements that are completely locked out thanks to incompetent coding. By the way, if you're wondering, not only is this same issue prevalent in every port of the game, making 100% completion impossible regardless of which version you play, but Ubisoft never bothered to fix it with a patch, even after the game was made backwards compatible for the Xbox One and Series lines of systems over a decade later. Truly proving why you're one of the best in the business, Ubisoft. Whilst you may assume that based on both the name and the type of game this is, that I've broken my rule of no online shutdowns, stick around and you'll learn it's much stupider than that. For anyone unfamiliar, Army of Two is a trilogy of co-op based shooters developed by EA Montreal, and for our purposes we're going to be looking at the second entry, The 40th Day, which was released in early 2010 for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, along with a PSP version made by BuzzMonkey. The achievement we're interested in is called DIY PMC, which just requires you play a public online match whilst wearing a custom face mask. Now, unlike most games where you'd simply just make the custom mask in-game, the method was instead to go onto the Army of Two website, where there was then a page you could go on to design it, and then link to your EA account to use it in-game. If you're not seeing the problems that could arise from this approach, I'll stop beating around the bush. In 2012, the website was altered to instead promote the then upcoming third game, The Devil's Cartel, a move which made it impossible to access the mask creator, meaning this achievement wasn't made incompletable because of the online closing. It was instead done by removing the only way to make the custom masks, whilst not providing people an alternative method of doing so, or because EA decided to prioritize advertising the new entry without stopping to think how their actions could potentially screw over the customers of the previous one. And just for the extra salt in the wound, they would end up deciding to shut down the game's servers in 2022, rendering another 10 achievements to become unobtainable thanks to them being tied to the online mode, meaning that even if we didn't have this little incident, it's still impossible to complete anyway. Thanks, EA. To end things off, let's talk about a game I'm pretty sure 99% of the people watching this video have never heard of. The title in question being Hate Plus, a visual novel made by Canadian indie developer Christine Love, which released in 2013 and serves as a standalone expansion to their previous work, Analog: A Hate Story, which aims to explain the events that took place on the Magunghwa, the generational ship the plot of the original game revolves around, that caused the ship to disappear for 600 years and eventually led to the demise of the ship's crew, with the story being told over the span of 3 days. Now, as is fairly common for games like this, there's multiple endings which are mostly dependent on which of the two potential AI partners you start the game with and how you answer certain questions during the last day, with there being various achievements for getting each of these endings. However, there's one that no one has gotten, namely the achievement Level 4 Revive Materia, which is awarded for getting an ending which sees you prevent a major character death within the story. Out of respect of avoiding spoilers, I will not say who. Seeing that no one could find a way to do it, the game's fanbase came together and looked inside and out to find a way to get this ending, from picking every combination of dialogue options, messing with the system clock, running debug tools, and digging through the game's code. But in the end, no one found a way to get it, and the reason for that is because the ending just flat out doesn't exist, with the achievement not even being coded into the game. At this point, you're probably confused as to why exactly an achievement exists for an ending that doesn't. Well, that's because the achievement is a direct reference to the various rumors and urban legends surrounding Final Fantasy VII, which suggested that an item or sequence of events exist within the game which allows you to undo a major character death within the story. One of the most widely spread rumors being a level 4 version of the revive materia, an equipable item which provides the character holding it access to spells which can revive defeated party members, hence why the achievement is called Level 4 Revive Materia. This probably makes this the first time a developer intentionally included an unwinnable achievement just to mess with players and call back to one of the most infamous urban legends in gaming history, which ironically enough would kick off an equally insane hunt for something that never existed. Don't think we're going to be topping that anytime soon, so let's end things off here for now. If there's one thing to take from these stories, you know what? There's just no moral this time. Most of this was just game studios being incredibly short-sighted.